And now it's time for another edition of What Would Jello Do? In case you haven't already figured it out from all the real vote fraud going on the other side, interstate cross-check programs stealing the election for Trump and W stealing 2 elections, etc., Beto O'Rourke probably won, as did Stacey Abrams, as did Andrew Gillum, on down the line. They probably didn't just win, they probably won big. But even so, at least one house in Washington is finally not in total arch-enemy hands, and there are some things that can be done. I'm kind of impressed that they're already talking about trying to pass a bill that presidents have to disclose their tax returns, among other things. Talking about even trying to abolish the Electoral College. But of course, this is talk. They haven't even taken the oath of office yet. But I think this talk is good because the purpose of the House now is not just to block the worst stuff that Trump and Pence and Zinky Stinky and DeVos and the rest try to force on all of us, but it's also to propose good bills, good laws, well written, even if that creature in the Senate, McConnell and the rest won't even take up the bill in the Senate, at least get some of this stuff passed and get it so people know about it, because it creates a sense of the possible. It creates a sense of, oh, we actually could be doing this instead. And there's all kinds of bills and state and city referendums, just such as decriminalizing cannabis and everything else, that it takes years of proposing it, voted down. Propose it again, voted down. Propose it again, oh my God, it's finally gonna get through. Plus the other side's ideas is voted down before, let's privatize Social Security, things like that. But there's other things we can move to also propose these things, get them in the public consciousness. This is possible if we get better, cool people into office and throw these gangsters out. Not just the president having to disclose their tax returns, but finally, like every other cabinet office and everything else, they have to divest of all their financial holdings. Rex Tillerson gave up something like $150 million of Exxon stock when he took Secretary of State. The Trumps, all of them, should have had to divest the minute they set foot in the White House door. Why is the president exempt? Why is his crooked family of monster children exempt? Fix that law. Very popular too. The same thing would be popular if a repeal of the Trump-Ryan tax cuts that gave all our money away to the 1%, that doesn't even have popular majority support. Repeal it, or at least pass a bill in the House to repeal it. Media reform. Again, now that it's all about fake news and people are becoming more and more aware, hopefully, of how much of it is fake and how vicious the whole thing is, the fairness doctrine. Bring it back. Last time they proposed that in 2009, Nancy Pelosi, her favorite phrase, oh no, off the table, off the table. Imagine if that had been done then, where that fairness doctrine was back in place, and every time Fox News or Rush Limbaugh lied about somebody, the other side had a chance to reply by law. We need that back. How you do that on internet sites is beyond me, but you kind of go back to who's hosting and everything else, who's really making the money off the ads. Yes, you can hold, somebody accountable. And again, why not do like they do in parliamentary democracies and have what's called a shadow cabinet, a shadow attorney general, a shadow secretary of state, a shadow secretary of defense, things like that, to just follow what the real ones are doing and dog them every step of the way. The more you have somebody like that who acts as a spokesperson for the other side, the more you can get some of that in the news, and more people are aware of what people like Betsy DeVos and Ben Carson over at Housing are really up to, so it isn't the latest Trump drama dominating the news every single day as a deliberate tactic to cover all this up. Another one. Dog Brett Kavanaugh as long as he stinks up the room in the Supreme Court. There's so many impeachable offenses he committed, even aside from all the people he assaulted. There's all the lies and there's everything else. Even if there's a bill to impeach that then fails, it lets people know, hey, we're not going to let this guy just walk all of a sudden. And I'm still hoping all the women he attacked will put a book together and release it of what exactly he did to them. And then abolishing the Electoral College. Great idea. Even Jimmy Carter proposed it. But that requires a constitutional amendment. It's very hard to get those through. Not even an equal rights amendment for women was able to get through in the 70s and 80s. But there's another way to do that one, of course, and that is if over half our states, by law, say that their electors at the Electoral College have to vote for the winner of the popular vote, bingo. Done. I think we're something like 12 states away from that. So that's something to push for at the state level. Another constitutional amendment proposed before, but get it out there, get it a bill in the House. Women's right to choose what to do with their own bodies. Reproductive rights. They couldn't get an abortion ban through constitutionally because there wasn't enough public support, but I've said it before, and Frank Zappa said it first, America likes to fuck. That's why people are pro-choice. Same with marriage equality. Don't let them tear that up. Don't let Roberts and Kavanaugh tear that up. Constitutional amendment guaranteeing it, popular support, it should go through. Overturning Citizens United. Corporations aren't people, and we've got to go back to when bribes were illegal like they are in other countries. That can be done too. And another thing we need is a constitutional amendment, specifically, believe it or not, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that every citizen has the right to vote. We've made it for 18-year-olds. Okay, if they're eligible, they get to vote. Women, if they're eligible, they get to vote. Who determines eligibility? People like Jeff Sessions or the current stuff they pull in Wisconsin, Mississippi, wherever? No, you get rid of all that by strengthening the Voting Rights Act more than ever has been by in the Constitution, every single adult citizen has the right to vote, period. That puts a stop to a lot of this vote fraud in the process. I mean, even a truth commission and hearings about the real vote fraud and all the elections that really were stolen, even that would be progress. And then you go back to the state-by-state local level. Speaking of vote fraud, 30 states, as far as I know, now have the interstate cross-check program in place. The one I've talked about before, where you run names through this 30-state database, and if any name matches in 2 states, even if it's Joe Smith, they must have all been the same person. You know, that's the real vote fraud, to take people of color and others off the voter rolls. But a lot of these secretaries of state who signed on to cross-check, you know, the state secretary of state mainly runs elections. Some of those Tea Party ones are out, and more progressive ones have been voted in. Take a look at your state. Is it a cross-check state? Who is the Secretary of State? Is there a chance to persuade the Secretary of State to pull out a cross-check like that, and then it's done? Go.